Okay. Hi, I'm Apollo, and this is WasaBee as well, or Waza, and we are hosting the Female Artists and Writers in the Transformers franchise in Fandom panel. So we're going to introduce ourselves first. So um, I've been a part of the Transformers fandom officially since 2017. I saw some G1 episodes back when it was out on reruns in the 80s, but I wasn't really a fan. Like, I liked it. But I joined the fandom as an adult in 2017. I made a Twitter account for the fandom in 2018 and started drawing fan art, and I've been around ever since. Waza, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm WasaBee, the self proclaimed queen of the bumblebees. I've been officially part of the Transformers fandom since 2015, but I did get super into it in high school when Transformers Prime was airing. So I sat through the misery that was the season 2 hiatus and then forgot season 3 was a thing until someone spoiled the end of it for me. Yay. Uh, but I've been in the fandom contributing consistently since 2015. I mostly do fanfic writing, and I was part of the Transformers roleplay community on Tumblr, and it's just been a fun ride since then. I do official articles now for Screen Rant, so if you see Transformers things there, it's either me or only two other people.
Woo, congratulations. That's exciting. So I know we're both pretty stoked to host this panel today and what we're going to talk about. We've got a rough outline. We'll see how it goes, though. So we're going to talk about like official artists and writers in the fandom, both from the comic perspective and also from the animation perspective. And then we're also going to talk about the fan artists and fan fiction writers who are contributing to the online community for Transformers. So, WasaBee, do you want to start off talking about the animation side of things?
Ooh, where to even begin with that one? Um, I know it more from the writer perspective. So I actually went to school for screenwriting. So part of that process is awkwardly reaching out to working screenwriters and talking to them. So my first contact at Hasbro was actually Dan Salgarolo, who started with, I believe, at the tail end of Prime, he was an intern, and then got a job on Robots in Disguise 2015, and then from there went to Cyberverse. So he was super cool, and he was the one who put me in contact with indirectly three women: May Cat, who wrote for Cyberverse seasons 2 and 3. She also does Marvel Rising, so she had the Spider-Gwen episode, and I'm very proud of her. Uh, Therese Trujillo, who is a big time animation art director. She did the entire art direction of Transformers Prime. And Kate Crownover, which I don't expect anyone to know because she was the former manager of current and series development at Hasbro. So I know the most from May. She was able to speak to kind of the dynamics in the writer's room. And keep in mind, like everyone on Cyberverse, they're all super chill. It was really funny hearing about them. We had about like 4 different generations of Transformers fans on there. So Randolph Hurd, the story editor, knew nothing about Transformers. Neither did May until she got on, and then she binged literally everything. Dan was a newer fan, but knew more of the Align continuity. And then Gavin and Zach were more G1 and Beast Wars focused. But it was interesting hearing about some of the dynamics in that writer's room because, again, and I'll say that like they're all wonderful people. They are all really fun to talk to, but it is very different being the only person of color, the only queer person, and the only woman in a writer's room. So May said, like, sometimes she would say something, and then the guys would be like, "Oh, what did you mean by that? Like, you don't think of us like that?" She's like, "No, no, guys." But anyways, getting a little bit off topic, but just to know that dynamic is there. So that does affect some of the writing in some ways. Um, if you did notice in seasons 2 and 3, since May was there, she definitely pushed more for one, more diverse body types within which characters they brought in. Yay, Clover.
Yeah.
Um, and she could speak more to like how to write the women. Because for season 1, we did have Kate Leff, and I'm still dying over that. And Margaret Scott came back to write an episode, as she did for Robots in Disguise when Windblade popped up. Uh, but there's definitely a difference when someone is a staff writer and able to contribute in the same way other staff writers are. So that's kind of our journey into the 2010s past 2020. We're not quite there yet. It's great seeing more female characters, but at the same time, and this is just an issue throughout television production, throughout animation, there just aren't women in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch Siege yet, but there were no women writers for that, and
Yeah,
I feel
I did see that.
step back, right? Like, we had Cyberverse, which at least had women writers contributing, and which, I think made an awesome show that was interesting. And as you said, there were female characters with different, frame types and different relationships, especially like in season 3, which I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but you guys, there might be spoilers. That I thought that was super cool what they did with season 3. So, I don't know if you would have gotten that idea if, May hadn't have been involved in the writing process. So I definitely agree with you that we still have a lot of work to go. I mean, when I did some research for this panel, because that's just what I do. I've got some kind of interesting facts in regards to like number of writers, since we're talking about writers right now. So this is according to TF Wiki. Out of the total 346 male and female writers, unfortunately, they don't have like a non-binary category on TF Wiki. So some of the people in the female category are actually non-binary. So there's only 44 female writers out of the 346. That's only 12.71% out of the last 35 years of Transformers. And most of those female writers have been brought on in the last 10 years. I mean, like Margaret Scott was the first female writer for the Transformer comic series. I mean, and that's pretty recent. That is in the last 10 years. I mean, yeah, like back in the G1 days, there were some female writers, but a lot of them co-wrote episodes with male co-workers. And, I think when we have more female writers and representation, we get even more enriched and interesting stories that we wouldn't get otherwise. So what else have you noticed in regards on like the animation perspective? Like, I'm not sure if you know this or not. Like, do you know if there were any women artists who contributed to the animation direction?
Honestly, I'm not sure for Cyberverse. I'm 90% sure it's a no for Robots in Disguise. I'm pretty sure Therese didn't stay on after Prime.
Mm-hmm.
But Cyberverse is where it gets a little dicey because 3 different creative forces created Cyberverse. So you had the writing team in Los Angeles at Hasbro Studios, you had character design at Boulder Media over in Ireland, and then I forget the name of the studio, but the one that actually animated everything is in India.
So we actually don't know if there were other, females who actually contributed to this. As you said, like the animation studios in India, like there could have been women working on it, and we don't even know because they're not credited.
Exactly. Or character designers over at Boulder Media that we're not sure.
Yeah, it'd be good to know that information. So yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the comic side of things. So here's some other facts. So this is in regards to all artists out of the past 35 plus years of Transformers franchise. There, according to TF Wiki, there are 258 male and female artists. Of those, that number, only 18 are women. And I'm going to put in non-binary too, because some of the people listed in there are non-binary. So that's 6.98% of artists being female, with most of them being added in the last 10 years. So, it's kind of the theme of this panel. Like, we're starting to make progress, but we're not there, and we need to make more progress. And what I found that's interesting, and you can talk on this, is that most of these women who are recently contributing to the official stuff, they all are fans of Transformers, and most of them have contributed in some way to the Transformers fandom, whether doing fan art or fan fiction, right?
A little, yeah. Margaret was on the show, so
Yeah.
May, I can speak. It was a bit different, but she was actually a GI Joe fan first, so she had this whole ask Facebook page for something about Cobra Commander, and Hasbro partially found her through that.
But see, that's really cool, though. These are all women who were fans in some form of a Hasbro product. G.I. Joe and Transformers are linked, and it's just really exciting that we have women who started out as fans who are passionate about this franchise and these stories and characters, and then Hasbro or IDW seeks them out and hires them as full-time artists, or even just contributing artists. A lot of fan artists now are actually starting to contribute stuff to the official Transformers franchise. Like, I know the Manly Lobster is one of the artists who's done some coloring for the card game, and Corrales actually did, has done like some covers and stories. Like, Corrales did this cover, which is super cool, and she started out as a fan artist, and that's just super exciting. And I know with the IDW 2.0 run, the primary artists now on it are female. So that's really exciting. So it's really cool, so for IDW 1, for that run, we had, for artists, we had contributing with Sarah Stone, who did the Windblade art, and Margaret Scott was the writer for those comics. And I just love that whole storyline arc, with the Windblade story going into Till All Are One, where Sarah PD took over and did the artwork for that series. It's such a dynamic political story that we haven't really gotten so much of, I'd say. Like, a lot of Transformers is action, which is cool. We like that, but I think exploring those kinds of dynamics is just really awesome and very powerful. So, and then in regards, so those are some of the artists. And then Kazama did the art for the Optimus Prime comic book, and I just love her style. Like, I got to meet her at one of the Transformer cons. I think it was Chicago, and then she went to LA. I think. And she's just got such a unique style that has so much contrast in her work, and it's gritty, and I love it. Like I even have one of the pages, I bought it from her when she was selling pages, and it's just, I just really admire her work. And then we've also got some other artists who've contributed. So, and I'm probably going to butcher pronouncing people's names, so I apologize. So, Joanna Lafune, I hope I pronounced that right. Did a lot of colors, was a colorist, and is still a colorist for Transformers IDW 1 and 2. So that's really cool. Priscilla Tremontano also has done color work. She's also done some line work as well, and some
the
cover
2017 work. Annual.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful. So wonderful. Such a good story. Like I'll like reread a lot of these stories as well. They're just the IDW 1 run, like there are parts of it that I go back to repeatedly. So in regards to writers for 1.0 IDW, Margaret Scott was a really big writer. As I was saying earlier, she was the first female writer to contribute to Transformers comics, which is huge. And as you were saying earlier, you know, she's written a ton of stuff for animation, like Transformers Prime primarily, which is still my favorite Transformers show, with Cyberverse a close second right now, because it's just, so then we've got for IDW2, there's primary artists for females, and I'm probably going to pronounce her name wrong, and I am very sorry. Kashe Whitman did the interiors for Transformers 1, 2, and 3, helped contribute to that. She hasn't done anything since. One of the primary artists now is Anna Maklova, and she started out as a fan artist. And I love seeing her work. I don't want to spoil stuff for people, but there's this one scene in this area where Swerve has, and she drew so many characters in that page. I was so impressed. I don't know if you've seen that, WasaBee, but like I was just like, oh, my wrist hurts for you. I am so impressed.
Probably see it over the weekend. I had to finally go pick up my backlog of 3 months worth of comics.
Yay, comics. Lots of reading, and that's cool. Yeah. And then Beth McGuire Smith, who goes by Andernell on Twitter, also has contributed to interiors on the new IDW 2.0 run. And I just really like her style. Like, it's very sketchy, and just, to me, it's very beautiful. Like, it's really hard for me to describe it, but you've probably seen the one issue that was like very OP Megs heavy.
Yes.
Up to the moon and stuff, and I just like, oh, this is amazing. It's just gorgeous work. Like, so another artist who's recently contributed, and I've got their issue here. The cover's got Casey's artwork on it, but Billy Montefort, who's known as Cosmic Danger on Twitter, they finally have contributed to interiors to Transformers. Yay! And they're being interviewed tomorrow by Mike Seibert at 3 for this conventions panel. So you can check out more and learn more about them.
That's what I came in here to plug, so I'll leave again. Bye.
Yes, plug. Gotta plug. So, and then Umi Miao, who I mentioned earlier, who goes by Corrales, has done some stuff. I showed the cover earlier, and she also drew that RC story in the Hasbro Creator Showcase book. And then for writers, for females, we've got Sam Maggs so far, who's written for Transformers Galaxies. And also Sarah PD, I believe, wrote a story for that Valentine's Day special. So, and also drew the artwork for that. So, so we're actually, I feel like we're finally getting somewhere, at least with the comics. But, as we were saying earlier, we still got a lot of work to go.
It's nice to see people from IDW1 come back, because I haven't seen a lot of the women come back for IDW2, but I've seen a lot of the male artist contributors in particular be invited back faster.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of them and more of the women artists invited back. Like, I mean, when Sarah PD drew that one issue that was Road Rage Nautica, about their story, it was just so refreshing to see her art again for Transformers franchise, for the comics. And yeah, I'd like to see more of the 1.0 people brought back. I'd like to see Margaret Scott come back as a writer, because I really, Till All Are One is my favorite story from that whole, from 1.0, and I recommend that to people. It's just like, okay, if you want a taste of Transformers, read this, but you might need to ask me questions first, because there's so much backstory. But yeah, like it's interesting that a lot of the old guys were invited back to do like covers and stuff, or even interiors. So, hopefully we get more of the old crew for women to come back for 2.0, and then bring on even more female fan artists and writers. So, yeah. So, I think for like official people, we can wrap it up there, unless WasaBee, if you know of anyone else, and we can move on to like fan artists and fan fiction writers we'd like to talk about.
No, I think that's a good overview. Also, though, like a lot of the female contributors just don't get a lot of credit, and then get slammed with criticism far more than other contributors do. So that's something to keep in mind on fandom side. Because, look, there's the whole Margaret Scott thing. You're allowed to like writing. You're allowed to not like writing. That's fine. But there's such vitriol sometimes when it comes to that criticism. And it's like, you gotta think, is that coming from, I just don't like the story setup because X, Y, and Z? Or I don't like this person enough to not like their writing, ergo it bad. So that's it can be tough. So I think it's great just shining a bit of a light on these people, understanding where they've come from, why they're in the position they are. Because also on the other side, I've seen a lot of female fans be like, Margaret shouldn't do that. She shouldn't be there. She's bad at writing. It's like, well, understand the other portion of TV writing. You could be the best TV writer in the world, but if your personality is terrible, nobody's going to hire you. That goes for men and women. If you can't get along locked in a room for 50 hours a week, you're not invited. So there's that. Like, no, maybe Margaret isn't the best writer in the world, but she gets along, she compromises, and she works in constraints that I can't even fathom on the comic side. So there's a reason she keeps getting invited back. She knows what she's doing, she's good at what she's doing, and she can play nice, which is really hard sometimes.
Oh yeah, especially, if you're working with a bunch of different people, different perspectives. It's just, especially a male dominated industry right now, you do have to learn like how to negotiate and, be a team player. And those are important things. And those are things that you have to learn for any career. Like, if you're nice and you're willing to compromise and even like at least listen to other people's ideas, you're going to be invited back. Of course you're going to be. You might not be the best at what you do because there's always someone that's going to be better than you. But if you're a good person, then yeah, they're going to invite you back, something that now that you brought this up, as you said, a lot of the women, even the women artists, get a lot of criticism too, whereas male artists or even male writers, who write things that may be controversial, like the whole, there's the whole drama with the Cygate ship, from IDW 1.0, and, there are artists that I won't mention on here from 1.0 who, may have some troubling involvement, with certain companies. So like
and certain movements.
Yeah, that too. And it's just, they get a free pass even from a lot of women fans and non-binary fans. And what can we do? And this is probably a big question. What can we do to support women artists and women writers, and protect them if possible from this online abuse? And this is something we might not even be able to answer here, but I definitely feel that as women, and also their male colleagues should support and promote their coworkers, the people who are contributing to the official canon work and also the fan works. Did you have any other thoughts on that?
I think I said my piece, and we're not going to get into. No, we won't go there. So
we'll cut it off here. But we'll just retweet people and
we'll keep it fun. Support your local business.
Exactly, and support your fellow artists and writers, and be good people. So let's talk about some of our favorite fan artists and fanfics and fanfic writers now. So who are some of your favorites?
Oh goodness. On the artist side, I do love her Spalter. Just some of those one-page comics are hilarious. I love that one picture though where it's G1, Bumblebee, and Ratchet's repairing Bumblebee's hand and he's sucking on a lollipop. He's like, I'm a robot, I can't even eat this.
Funny. Oh, I remember seeing that one. Yeah, there's just so many talented female fan artists and fan fiction writers in the fandom. Starting out with writers like my friend Lita, our friend Lita, is writing a lot of OP Alita fanfics, and I'm hooked on her fanfic, and I'm just like, give me more. She knows how to write environments that are very detailed. I can see the environments visually in my mind when I'm reading them, and I think that's, as a writer, that's something very hard to do. I've dabbled in fan fiction. I've got some on AO3, but I need to finish them because I'm focused on art. It's just oh, I feel bad. Sorry, people who are waiting on my fanfics. I'm focused on art. But I think it's just really hard as a writer to actually first of all, write characters that are believable, and keep them in character, and then also write and develop a story and scenes that's believable in the, for those characters. And I think Lita's done a great job with that. I also like reading a lot of Spoon's fan fiction. So, those are always very enjoyable at what she writes. And the way she writes Starscream, it's just perfect. The big drama queen, it's just it's just amazing. We just have so many talented writers in this fandom. Also Harper from More Than Eats the Pod, that podcast. She writes awesome fanfics. She wrote something for me, and which is awesome. I commissioned her, and I just really enjoy just reading the fanfics that people write and their different perspectives that they bring to it. And I really wish that a lot of the writers that they hire for, the Transformer comics would have some sort of fan fiction background, or a sample of work written for a Transformers story, just so, we know that they can write something that's very cohesive and stuff like that. So
I think that's a bit of a slippery slope, though, and it's like I understand why, because from the, I guess, company, we'll call it, because Transformers is all about selling toys, and it worked. But you want someone who's going to be passionate about, but it's not. It really isn't honestly the best idea to bring on like the super fan, because then sometimes it doesn't get treated as a job. So that's a bit. It's one thing. It's like you're a professional writer. This is what you do. You can separate it. Definitely get those people. There are some people who don't make that cut though, who can definitely write amazing fics. But when push comes to shove, it's like you might jump ship. We had people like that. I used to work at Harry Potter Park in Universal. And it was always the Harry Potter super fans who were out in 2 weeks. Like couldn't do the job, couldn't comply, couldn't be in compliance. They just wanted Harry Potter, and they figured out it wasn't all fun and games. It is a job, so.
Do you think that's because of like the constraints that you have to have? Because Hasbro is involved in Transformers. They want to push certain toys. As you said, we know this started off as Transformers started off as a thing to sell toys. So that oversight and being told that you have certain constraints, like you have to have these characters in your story that like a super fan couldn't necessarily handle that, because they might only want to write stories with Starscream, for instance, or Cliff Jumper or something, and then that character is not even in anything they work on. So.
And I remember for IDW1 they had a character bidding system, so that's why More Than Meets the Eye had such a weird cast. But people would like put in characters they wanted in their stories, and Hasbro would be like, yeah, sure, no, this is going over here, who is that, whatever, okay, I guess. So that can be very challenging if, like, I am a fanfic writer who just focuses on one character, the yellow boy. So I know it would be hard for me to just write a story about the Combaticons. So I'm like, they murder things. They're a weird family. This is very out of character. So that would be tough for, especially like a lot of fanfics are shipping and romance, and it's like that's totally fine and stuff. But how much of that can you get away with in official? Like, you definitely can't get away with Megatron and Starscream in official.
No, that wouldn't fly. At least now it won't fly.
Megatron's a gun. He can't fly.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, Starscream has to carry him.
He's like carrying the weight of the Decepticons on his shoulders.
Yeah, literally. I can fly. No.
Each, is that you? Anyways.
Yeah, like I've thought about that too, because I'd like to someday like at least draw like some covers for IDW for the comics, but as you're saying, like you might be told, hey, I want you to draw a cover with Ironhide, and it's like cool, I think. But you've seen my work. I draw Starscream mostly. Like when I don't have anything I can think of to draw, it's like my default boy to draw. So that would be challenging for me, be like, well, you're gonna draw Cup. Like, I think that would be the worst thing for me to be told to draw is to draw Cup. Sorry, Cup fans, but like no, no.
Not my aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I think that would be hard for me. I think, but so as you were saying, you kind of have to have that balance of I'm a fan, but I'm not like
I'm not like other fans. I'm a cool fan.
Yeah, that too.
The other side of that too is that going back to college, I did actually have to study for a hot sec Star Trek fan fiction and how the fan base saved Star Trek season 3, the original series.
Really?
Literally the power of gay zines. Like they saved season 3 of the original Star Trek show with Kirk and Spock making out. And it was all these female fans who did it, and they rode into the studio, they had these zines circulating, and they got their show. So definitely that's not to say there's no power in fandom, but also within that study, it was very interesting to learn that, and again, this is like a little bit dated. I think what I read was from the late 90s. And for purposes, we're just going to generalize here because the trends that I've seen pretty much match up with it still. But generally speaking, male writers tend to go very plot-driven world-building stories, and women tend to go more character, emotionally driven stories. And both of those aspects are incredibly important in creating a good, cohesive story. Because it's like, I'm one of those people, I'm like, no, I want stuff to happen. I want to be invested in the people that it's happening to. But I do definitely want things to happen. Like, slice of life is not my entire cup of tea. I like it here and there for filler, but, but again, speaking to, that's kind of why it's so important to have both contributing, is that generally speaking, very, very broad generally, because this isn't to say men can't write characters and women can't write plot. No, we definitely all can. Mm-hmm. But having more of that balance, because I think that's where my disconnect with IDW2 is that it's incredibly plot, politically driven, but it's like, I don't care that much for the characters right now. I'm not really getting them in like all of their splendor of how I know I should be. And it's like, that's when it would be great to have another perspective on things. And this is speaking for the TV shows too. Like, I felt sort of the same way in Siege. I'm like, I don't really understand these characters as characters. Like, in my opinion, the strongest character in that show was probably Ratchet. That was such an interesting Ratchet story. But even then, like, I'm so happy Alita Wynn was there.
No spoilers.
And she made really good points, but she kept getting like overlooked and spoken over, and it's like, look, I don't mind fiction mirroring reality, but this is hitting a little too close to home, guys.
I noticed that too. I was just like watching that, like I was just like, oh no, this is too real. Like, the whole dynamics between like men and women, like power struggles. But I felt like Siege was trying to keep it spoiler free, since it's only been out a few days, but I do feel like it was lacking like that character depth that it needed, because I couldn't care about why. I didn't even really know why Megatron and Optimus were fighting. Like, that's all I'm going to say on it, because I don't want to spoil anything. We just know they're fighting, but like with the current IDW2 run of the comics, it's like a really long, slow burn. And then you get like these little pockets of like, character stuff, like that one episode, or not episode, but like that one comic that was very OP Megs heavy, and even, Road Rage and Nautica. But I think a lot of that was because of the artists that were involved, because they know how to convey emotion so easily just through their art, with the touch of a hand of the characters, or just their facial expressions, and even the coloring, and creates the mood that the storytelling from the writing perspective is kind of lacking right now for the character stuff. But you know, as you're saying, you know, we bring together male and female writers together, we're going to get a more enriching Transformers experience. And the same with artists too. If we bring on more female artists, both novice and experienced artists, we will get that enriched visual experience too. So,
and one that more closely reflects how the fan base has changed from the 80s to now. So we have far more women who are into Transformers than we did before. But it's still a bit of a boys' club as far as the creatives go and who's making the decisions.
Yeah, something I wanted to ask you about, because like I wasn't able to find any info on it, is because we both attended numerous TF cons, and you know the fan art area is mostly women and non-binary artists, and to me there's a lot of women and non-binary folks that are going to these conventions now, to TF con. Like, you know, I don't know if it's half, but it seems like it's close to that. Do you think that actually reflects the overall Transformers fandom changing for there being that many women involved in it?
I would argue yes, because the people going to the conventions are the ones being most vocal and most participate within the fandom as a whole. Like, we could talk about just, you know, the regular G1er who collects toys, and that's totally fine and totally valid. You can be that type of fan. That's fine. No judgment. This is a judgment-free zone. We just like robots.
Yes.
Maybe to an healthy extent, but that's up to our therapist to decide.
Exactly. Exactly.
But, yeah, no, I think it's definitely significant. And again, these are the people being part of that community rather than sitting back and like, oh, I'm in my corner, just enjoying it by myself. Again, totally valid.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like Transformers fans that are super casual and they'll only go see the movies. Like, and I know lots of people who don't even consider themselves like fans of Transformers, but they're like, oh yeah, I've gone and seen the Bumblebee movie, like, you know, and it's just like most people, like a lot of people just know of Transformers, or they grew up watching it as a kid, or they see the movies and that's it. That's their only involvement, and that's fine. So, all right. So I'm looking at the time. So it's around 3:42. So I don't know. Do you think we should open up to Q&A now?
Sure. Let's roll.
All right. Our moderator, read us questions, and we will do our best to answer.
Watch there be like no questions.
We've got two from Monica, who said these earlier. I have to scroll up and find them. Sorry.
I know what that is.
I know.
So I actually read her fic before I met her in person here, and when Flight Rising was still really big, we were showing each other our like dragon profiles when I was over at her house, and I was like, oh, I read the same fics as you. She was like, no, I wrote them. I was like, whoa.
Yep. Shattered Glass one is.
Yeah. I still want her to finish her Knockout Kidnaps the Kids fanfic. Anyways, she says, speaking of Knockout, I heard a rumor that they considered Knockout for Cyberverse, but he didn't make it in. Anybody have any details on that? True, false?
Oh gosh. I wouldn't be surprised if for season 3 he was being considered. I unfortunately don't have information on that because I met May before season 1 finished, or before the end of season 1 aired. So I actually only knew about the Soundwave and Hot Rod scene, like the training scene, and then that Roxxon plays. Yeah, they did write in the touch. But I know they were bidding for Alita at one point too, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have no idea about Knockout. You know, I've heard rumors that there's going to be a toy released of him coming soon, like a Walmart exclusive toy. That's all I've heard in regards to like official Knockout stuff. So it would have been great if he'd been in Cyberverse. Like, he would have been a great addition to that show. Maybe if there'd been a season 4. So.
Okay. Next question is from, I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm sorry. Taco Crossy. What can dude fans do to make general Transformers fandom more welcoming for women and NB fans?
I love you.
Thank you.
Really, the big thing is like when we talk about something that is a little like you understand. It's not okay. I'm trying to say it without like saying what the drama was, but there was some big drama on Twitter twice over a toy. We won't name it. We'll call it something garbage. We'll call it Delta Airlines. Yeah. So there was big drama over Delta Airlines. And myself and a lot of other women and non-binary people spoke up and said, you know what? We don't like Delta Airlines because of X, Y, and Z that was super sexist and misogynistic and just not great. And a lot of people, not even in the Transformers fandom, just descended on all these women and like, no, you're irrelevant. It's just a toy. It's just plastic. So just kind of like helping back us up. I don't like you don't have to agree, but when you're getting death threats over a toy, that's a big no-no. Like there's something wrong there. So just that, even just having like the little bit of vocal support of like, wow, you're wrong, to all those people who are just have such language attached to them. Like honestly, that goes a long way just to know like, yes, there are people in the fandom who support diversifying and making the community itself equitable to those involved, because we're all really just here to have fun. So that's one. Also, support your local business.
Yeah,
a lot of artists have commissions. If you got the dough, they will take it and make bread.
Yeah, like you know, as someone else who during the whole Delta Airlines drama that happened twice this year, you know, I got harassed online and I had to block my Twitter account. I think it's for like a week or two because I was being attacked online by people, and men were threatening me. And it's just, you know, if you can, yeah, as you were saying, like if you don't necessarily have to agree with our view, but if we see something that's troubling in the fandom with like an official figure coming out, please back us up, because you know, in this instance, it made us all, the people who did not like this figure, we were very uncomfortable by it.
Yeah. At the same time, there's a reason like it came up over that one particular figure and not a third party figure. So
Exactly.
that was a large piece of it that a lot of the male fans weren't understanding.
Yeah, because it's one thing if there's a third party figure coming out, like
It's like that's
know,
what third party's meant for. It's not my cuppa, but you know what? If it's your cuppa, have fun.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it was just the fact that that one in particular was official, which was basically Hasbro saying, yeah, all that stuff we were preaching before, whatever.
Yeah, you know, because they were supporting like women empowerment. That Spotlight came out with all women writers and artists, which is super cool. And then like a month later, or what was it? Was it like a month later? This like figure
It was a couple. It was like at the beginning of 2020. So I'd say like 2 months.
Yeah. So yeah, so like if something bad comes up, you know, please back us up. Another way is you know, as you know, for official artists and writers, and even just fan artists and fan writers, promote us, help get our art and our work out there, because you know, it's a very male dominated and oriented you know, community right now in regards to like the official stuff. Like please like promote us, and that will help too, you know. And just in even just commenting on our work helps too, you know, whether it's feedback or, you know, just support, you know, that's really helpful, because we just all want to get along, and you know, we all love robots. So yeah.
Okay. Another question was which female characters, I'll add in their NB characters as well, from the comics would you like to see in the Transformers cartoons?
Glyph. I want my baby girl back. I think it'd be really cool to have an updated Transmutate, especially after that one BotCon exclusive that I have up in my room, and she's glorious. Because they canonically made her autistic as well. So I'm like, yes, give me autistic Transmutate. That would be great to have. Let's go full Sesame Street on this baby.
I would really like to see Nautica added in the show, in one of the future Transformer shows. I think that'd be really cool. Like, she's a really interesting and fun character, so I'd like to see her in an upcoming show.
I want to answer this too, so I can stall for time for another question. So y'all in the chat, ask another question because we have 5 minutes left. Yeah, someone else just said it too. Anode and Lug, I think, would be amazing in cartoon if it was handled well. And only if it was handled well. I don't want it to. If it was handled poorly, it would just be bad. But
now, Netflix, give it to me.
Yeah,
you're the only one that can get away with this right now.
That's 1 and 2. Give me like a She-Ra Transformers. You know.
There we go.
Give me that. I need more questions. I'm out. Sorry, keep going.
Okay. I would say She-Ra Transformers. You could totally make a spin-off of Siege. Just saying. Because of things that happened. I won't spoil, but things that happened. But is it technically a spoiler if it happened in G1? But whatever. We could totally do a spin-off She-Ra and Cybertron. Just saying. It could happen.
Someone says Siege-Ra.
Nice. Someone draw that.
Please.
Okay.
I guess I should draw that.
Oh yeah, side note, I met Mermista once.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she was part of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and I went to like one of their last live shows.
Nice.
Question, what do you think of fandom redesigns of Femme Transformers?
Which side? Because there's many sides to that coin.
Yeah, exactly.
Delta Airlines redesigns, or
Uh-oh.
like, what are we talking about? Okay, so answer both sides. How's that?
Both sides, okay. I try, at least on fan art side, I try not to think about it too much because I'm like, I don't like the objectification of women, but at the same time, you do you. It's like, I'm not gonna descend upon someone for making fan art of, like, I don't know, sexy RC. I mean, we have the squishy boobs RC already, so I'm like, what, do you need more? But okay. But it's like, it doesn't make me feel good, but I'm not gonna say you're a horrible, terrible person for doing this, because we do all have our things. But honestly, I think that more comes down to having better body type variation represented in canon. Again, which is what May was pushing for in Cyberverse. But like, a lot of the female Transformers are very like traditionally feminine. And that's fine, but I would like more. Because I remember like there was some Elita 1 drama with IDW1 for making her like a chonky plane. And there was someone, oh gosh, I can't remember which side of the coin that was, but like someone who was super duper against it. Or no, when Elita 1 went back to like the more G1 design after being a chonky Power of the Prime plane, and this person got really upset, and I'm like, the issue here isn't that it's Elita 1. The issue here is that we don't have official character designs that reflect everything. Unlike the male counterparts. Bumblebee's a chubby little boy. I don't have a chubby little girl to go with him.
No, exactly. We don't have a lot of options and frame types for female characters right now. I mean, like, Road Rage is an example of one who doesn't really fit that traditional femme form, or shell former. I think that's a term that's used, as shell former for the toys. Like, I think we do need more frame representation. And in regards to, folks drawing fan art of female characters, I'm not going to hate on someone for something I disagree with. And that's a mature way to handle being in a fandom. Don't be a troll. Like, I may not like what you draw, but I don't have to even say I hate it, and, why do I need to cause that drama?
Right. It's like if it's not outwardly offensive, like if it's not spreading any kind of hatred towards a specific group, and you just want to draw like, I don't know, a sexy moon racer, okay.
Yeah, go for it. Like, it's not gonna hurt me, and I might see it by accident, but I'm not gonna make a big deal out of seeing it. It's this person expressing their love of the fandom or for the character, and I'm not gonna hate on that because I have that I like that people may not like. I have ships I like that people may not like, but I don't want to be attacked over it, and I'm not going to attack people over liking something that I don't. That's a fan-based thing. Now, if it is something official, then yeah, but that's different.
That's a different story.
Different. We're allowed to disagree with that. So I think that answers that question.
And that also wraps up our time. We do have one question I am interested in seeing the answer to, but in the interest of time, I'm going to ask for one-word answers.
Okay.
I lost it. Hold on. Okay. If there was any female character as a main character, who would you like to see?
Oh god. Solus Prime.
That's cool.
That's one. I'd like one word. Alita. Like, I just say Alita there.
Alita 1 is
Deidre.
Okay. So thank you guys so much for your time and for doing this panel. It's really good to have something like this included in SciFest this year. I would love to see something similar next year, assuming we are not all dead.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the transition screen.